Will the cremated rise again? I got a question today that weighs heavy on a lot of hearts. A young woman wrote to me, and I could hear the worry in her voice through the screen. She asked, Peepaw, my grandmother was cremated. I have her ashes, but I'm so scared. Will she rise again when Jesus returns? That question, that raw fear, it sent this old storyteller right back to the ancient scrolls. Because when we're staring at dust and ash, we need a promise that's stronger than both. And the good news is, we have one. Now, it's a fair question, isn't it? For thousands of years, followers of Jesus have practiced burial. We wrap our loved ones, lay them gently in the earth, and mark the spot. We do it because it's what they did for Jesus. It's a quiet act of faith, like planting a seed in the hope of a harvest. So when we see fire, it can feel so final, so destructive. In the Bible, fire sometimes represents judgment, and that image can get stuck in our heads. It can spark a deep, nagging fear that maybe, just maybe, we've done something that puts our loved ones outside of God's great promise. We start to wonder, did I make a mistake that God can't fix? But that's exactly when we need to open the book and see what God really has to say about it. The very first scroll I turn to is the beginning of the whole story, Genesis. God says to Adam in Genesis 3:19, "For you are dust, and to dust you shall return." That's a fundamental truth for every single person who has ever lived. Whether a body is laid in a grand tomb or lost at the bottom of the sea, it eventually returns to the dust of the earth. The very atoms and molecules that make us up are recycled back into the ground. Cremation doesn't change that final state. It just speeds up the clock. It turns a process of decades into a matter of hours. So whether it's through the slow decay in the earth or the quick consumption by flame, the end result is the same: dust. And our God is a God who knows exactly what to do with dust. That brings me to my second big discovery. If God's promise depended on our bodies staying perfectly preserved, not a single one of us would have any hope at all. Think of the Christian martyrs all through history, burned at the stake for their faith. Did the early church believe their hope was turned to smoke and ash? Never. And think about the very first man, Adam. The scripture says God formed him from the dust of the ground. He started with a handful of dirt and breathed life into it. If God can create a living, breathing man from dirt, why would we ever think that a handful of ashes is too hard for him? His power to resurrect isn't limited by the condition of our remains. But the most beautiful answer of all comes from the Apostle Paul. He knew people would worry about this, so he gave us this incredible picture in 1 Corinthians 15:42-44. He compares our earthly body to a seed. He says what you sow or plant is perishable, weak, and natural. But what God raises up is imperishable, glorious, and powerful. You don't plant a whole stalk of wheat, do you? You plant a tiny bare seed. That seed has to go into the ground and completely fall apart for new life to spring forward. Our body is just like that seed. It's the vessel for this life. The body that God has ready for us in eternity is a new, glorious, spiritual body, one that's perfectly suited for heaven. The resurrection isn't about God gluing all the old pieces back together. It's a miracle of complete transformation. So to the dear one who asked about her grandmother, and to anyone else who's been carrying that same worry deep in your heart, let Peepaw tell you what the scrolls say. The answer is a resounding yes. She will rise again. Her hope and our hope was never in the condition of her body. It was sealed by her faith in Jesus Christ, the one who said in John 11:25, "I am the resurrection and the life." God's promise isn't held back by fire or water or how much time has passed. Don't you fret about ashes or dust. The same God who spoke light out of darkness and formed humanity from the earth can and will raise you up, whole and new. Our hope is not in the ground, but in the God who has already conquered the grave. His promise is as secure as his word. Peepaw says when you're holding ashes and wondering if God can make them rise, remember, he made the first man from dust. Your loved one's resurrection doesn't depend on preservation. It depends on his promise. And that child has never failed. Like, share, follow for more ancient scrolls.